The US government is effectively on hold, and ordinary lives are hanging in the balance. But how much longer can this standoff last? Imagine a nation where essential services grind to a halt, federal workers scramble without paychecks, and critical programs for the needy are put on pause. That's the reality unfolding right now with the ongoing government shutdown, entering its third week and showing no signs of resolution. As lawmakers dig in their heels, families across the country are left wondering when normalcy will return. But here's where it gets controversial. Is this political theater more about scoring points than genuinely serving the American people? Let's dive into the latest developments, breaking them down simply so everyone can follow along, even if you're new to the intricacies of Washington politics. Live updates on the government shutdown. Senate poised for another key vote as tensions escalate. Live updated 11:54 a.m. by Caitlin Yilek, politics reporter. https www.cbsnews.com/Caitlin Yilek. Caitlin Yilek serves as a politics reporter for CBSNews.com, stationed in Washington, D.C. Her prior experience includes roles at the Washington Examiner and The Hill. And she participated in the 2022 Paul Miller Washington Reporting Fellowship through the National Press Foundation. Read full bio. https www.cbsnews.com/Caitlin Yilek. Updated on October 15, 2025, 1:26 p.m. EDT, CBS News. Key insights into Day 15 of the shutdown. The shutdown, which halts most non-essential government operations and leaves hundreds of thousands of workers without pay, is now stretching into its third week. The Senate is gearing up for its ninth attempt at around 2:15 p.m. this afternoon to approve a bill passed by the House that could restart funding. Democrats and Republicans are still deeply divided on Day 15, with no compromise in sight. This proposed legislation aims to keep the government operational until November 21, but it fell short of the 60 votes required for passage yesterday. Notably, no additional Democrats supported it. Highlighting the entrenched positions on both sides, Republicans are adamant about not negotiating on extending health insurance tax credits, a point that has become a major sticking point. The upcoming vote is scheduled for 2:15 p.m. Service members in the military are due to receive their paychecks today, thanks to the Trump administration redirecting unused research and development funds to cover the costs. However, House Speaker Mike Johnson has cautioned that this is merely a short-term solution, warning that if the shutdown drags on, troops could miss their next full payments at month's end. 11:54 a.m. Jeffries urges House Republicans to get back to work and end the shutdown. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries criticized House Republicans sharply for their absence from Washington during this crisis, convening House Democrats at a news conference outside the Capitol to ramp up pressure on GOP leaders to reconvene the House. House Democrats are present, ready for action, Jeffries declared. We're prepared, eager, and capable of forging a bipartisan funding deal that addresses the real priorities of everyday Americans, restarts government operations, and tackles the pressing Republican-led healthcare challenges head-on. The New York Democrat emphasized the need for a reasonable counterpart across the aisle. House Republicans triggered this shutdown, then fled the city. For the past 3 weeks, they've been conspicuous by their absence, Jeffries stated. He highlighted Democrats' commitments to tackling rising living costs, reforming the flawed healthcare system, and combating corruption. Now is the moment to extend the Affordable Care Act's tax credits, shield tens of millions from skyrocketing health insurance costs, ensure everyone can access a doctor when needed, revive the government, and support our dedicated, patriotic federal employees, Jeffries urged. No more excuses. It's high time for House Republicans to return to their duties. 10:39 a.m. Thune notes ongoing discussions among senators on resolving the shutdown, but calls Democrats dug in. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, responding to questions from journalists about potential talks for an end to the shutdown, confirmed that such conversations are underway among members. However, the South Dakota Republican described Democrats as stubbornly entrenched, citing the recent No Kings protests as a critical red line for them. I hope they'll adopt a more pragmatic stance in their discussions, Thune added. Thune further revealed that Senate Republicans aim to bundle additional spending bills into a procedural vote on the full-year Defense Department funding bill planned for Thursday. Our objective is to gauge what additional measures we can include, Thune explained. We're aiming to assemble a package similar to our previous approach, requiring unanimous consent, and by attaching it to the defense appropriations vote tomorrow, we can initiate the negotiation process. When asked if he anticipates the shutdown persisting until comprehensive funding bills are approved, Thune replied, "I sincerely hope not. Shutdowns harm everyone, and the faster we conclude this, the better for all." 10:34 a.m. Johnson warns that ongoing shutdown could leave troops without full paychecks by month's end. During his routine press briefing at the Capitol, Speaker Mike Johnson targeted Democrats for prolonging the shutdown, stressing that military personnel face the risk of missing their upcoming full salaries later this month if funding remains stalled. Johnson characterized the Trump administration's decision to compensate service members today using alternative funds as a provisional measure. Thanks to President Trump's decisive action in safeguarding our armed forces, we're ensuring that 1.3 million active duty troops get their pay today, Johnson said. Otherwise, they would have gone unpaid. He accused Democrats of obstructing progress by consistently voting against the House's continuing resolution. If Democrats persist in their votes to maintain the shutdown, U.S. forces will likely miss a complete paycheck at the end of October, the Speaker warned. This affects deployed soldiers far from their young families who depend on these funds, those stationed overseas, renters trying to cover housing, and individuals caring for sick relatives, all potentially unpaid due to Democratic resistance. This should infuriate every American. 10:16 a.m. Thune accuses Democrats of being dug in and prioritizing their far-left base over national needs. On the Senate floor, Majority Leader John Thune reiterated that Democrats are firmly entrenched in their stance. After 15 days of this government shutdown, Democrats haven't budged an inch toward ending it, the South Dakota Republican remarked. Even the threat of military families losing paychecks didn't sway them to reopen operations. They're unfazed by vulnerable families worried about food assistance, or residents in flood-prone areas struggling to update insurance or finalize home purchases during hurricane season. No, Democrats remain dug in, forcing millions to endure uncertainty until their progressive wing is appeased. He continued, "The reality is Democrats seek something Republicans cannot provide, the endorsement of their extreme leftist supporters." Thune suggested Democrats are driven by satisfying their radical base and safeguarding their political futures. "We'll soon have another chance this afternoon to pass the bill before us," Thune said, gesturing toward the Senate desk. "Just 5 more Democratic votes, and it clears the Senate. Heads to the White House for the president's signature, and the government reopens. Will today mark day 15 of the Democrats' shutdown, or the day we restore operations and focus on serving the American populace?" 10:05 a.m. Today's Senate agenda. Speeches, recess, and a key vote ahead. The Senate began its session at 10 a.m. with morning business, featuring 10-minute speeches from senators on diverse subjects. Tune in to the live Senate floor feed via the player above. The chamber will recess from 12:30 p.m. to 2:15 p.m. for the weekly caucus meetings of both parties. Following that, senators will cast votes on the House-approved continuing resolution, as per the office of Majority Whip John Barrasso. 9:41 a.m. Why Senate attempts to lift the shutdown keep failing. A breakdown. Senate Democrats and Republicans are locked in a stalemate. Having rejected a Republican-sponsored bill 8 times yesterday that aimed to end the shutdown. For more depth, check out CBS News' Torian Small's analysis. Updated 8:58 a.m. Military personnel to get pay, today amid shutdown chaos. Despite the broader shutdown, armed forces members will receive their checks today, directed by President Trump, while numerous other federal employees remain unpaid until funding resumes. In a Truth Social post over the weekend, Mr. Trump instructed Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to exhaust every available resource to ensure our troops are paid on October 15th. We've pinpointed the necessary funds, and Secretary Hegseth will deploy them to compensate our troops, Mr. Trump stated. I refuse to let Democrats jeopardize our military and the nation's security with their reckless government shutdown. Approximately $8 billion from the prior fiscal year has been allocated for these mid-month payments, a Pentagon source confirmed. Additionally, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announced that Coast Guard staff will also be paid. The October 15th payday had been seen as a potential catalyst for negotiations, pressuring legislators to avoid defaulting on troops. However, this move only addresses the current cycle. Future pay depends on resolution, with some lawmakers advocating for dedicated military pay legislation. Updated 8:58 a.m., Thune proposes standalone vote on defense funding to break the impasse. Senate Majority Leader John Thune is exploring an alternative path by arranging votes on standard appropriations bills to restore some funding. Yesterday evening, he prepared a vote on the Comprehensive Defense Department funding bill, potentially leading to a procedural decision on Thursday. This strategy shifts from the unsuccessful attempts to pass short-term funding extensions, applying pressure on Democrats who endorse regular appropriations but clash with Republicans on immediate funding approaches. Thune mentioned last week his openness to votes on individual bills, such as the defense measure, to tackle parts of the ongoing crisis. Updated 8:58 a.m. Senate, set for 9th vote on House-approved government funding bill. The Senate plans another vote this afternoon on the House-endorsed bill to restore government funding, following its 8th failure last evening. Republicans had hoped for fresh Democratic backing, but the bill hasn't garnered any new cross-aisle support since the shutdown started. With 53 Republicans, the Senate's 60-vote threshold requires Democratic cooperation to pass most bills. Democratic Senators John Fetterman from Pennsylvania and Catherine Cortez Masto from Nevada, along with Independent Angus King, who aligns with Democrats, have backed the bill. Republican Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky has opposed it. And this is the part most people miss. While the shutdown affects everyone, from border security to scientific research, the debate often boils down to ideological battles over healthcare and spending priorities. Is extending tax credits for health insurance a must-have for fairness? Or is it just a partisan demand that prolongs the pain? What do you think? Should one side compromise more? Or is this a symptom of deeper dysfunction in Congress? Share your views in the comments below. Let's discuss.